Let's see. And we are live.
Hello, Michael, and hello, Vader Girl.
Yes, hello. Thanks for joining us in the chat. Well, welcome to Force of Light Entertainment. I'm your host, Michelle, and with me, as always, is my co-host, my sister, Natalie.
Hola.
That was quite the intro, Natalie.
Hope that wasn't cultural appropriation.
Hopefully we don't get canceled. But this is episode 48. If you have not yet, we would like to encourage you to subscribe to the podcast and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Give the video a thumbs up. And if you enjoy our content, we recommend you sharing this with someone that you think would enjoy and be enriched in their life by Force of Light Entertainment. Then share that with them.
Michelle, what do we say around here? Sharing is caring.
Sharing is definitely caring, everyone. And this podcast is a part of the Red 5 Network. And for more Red 5 Network podcasts, visit red5network.com. Well, we want to, before we introduce our guest, we want to remind you that you all hit our goal. So we will be giving away the Black Series Adorable Little Baby Yoda at the end.
Yay!
Yes. So stay tuned, anyone watching. At the end of the video, we will give you the details of how you can enter in to winter in the Baby Yoda giveaway sweepstakes. So
I think you said winter, kind of a mixture of enter and win. I like it.
I like
so
to mix
winter.
That's what I want to do. And let's say hello again to everyone from a certain point of views there. Yes, hello,
and
everyone.
Mr. Bupenheim. I like that name.
I let Natalie go ahead and introduce you on that, so because I didn't know how to pronounce that.
I know
one.
what your name is.
Yeah, I let Natalie take the difficult things. But anyways, let's go ahead and bring out our guests for this evening. And our guests, they are a Red 5 Network podcast. They are Pizza and Parsecs. Oh, look at them reading their DC comics.
Oh, hello.
Oh, hey, didn't see you guys come in there.
Didn't mean anything.
How are
We have a show with them right now.
Oh, here, let me take that.
This is embarrassing. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. So how are the newlyweds, Dave and Liv, doing this evening?
Oh, we're living the newlywed dream.
We're married?
Yeah, we are. Were you not there for that? Who was up there with me?
I'm just kidding.
This is so weird. No, we're absolutely loving it, having the time of our lives right now, getting the house put together with, integrating all of her stuff. I already had a house, so just getting her moved in and getting her dog Remus adjusted and getting my cats adjusted to having a dog around again.
Right.
So you have a blended family with the dogs and cats. So
we do. Yes.
It brings balance. It's a good thing.
It does.
Balance is very good.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. Well, before we get started, I know many in the chat are already aware of you guys, Pizza and Parsecs, being Dave and Liv. And to our listeners or watchers, whoever, if you have not checked out Pizza and Parsecs, we were just on with you all. You guys did an awesome series on the Matrix, and we got to be featured in one of the episodes. So definitely check that out if you're listening or watching. But I will let you guys tell our audience a little bit about yourself. So who is Pizza and Parsecs?
We are Pizza and Parsecs.
Just him.
No, this is Liv's show. I just guest on it every week.
No.
At any rate, so we initially conceived this whole idea of podcasting together probably
about a year ago.
Yeah.
Right before we got engaged.
Right before we got engaged. We both had loved podcasts, and we were like, yeah, maybe we could, jump on and maybe we'll get a listener or someone.
Right.
And that listener is your mother, I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
And so, we love geeking out together. We love DC. We love Star Wars. She loves Harry Potter. And I'm, by virtue of that, love Harry Potter as well.
Right. Now you legally have to like Harry Potter.
Legally, I have to like Harry Potter.
It was in the vows.
Right.
You're not wrong. But yeah, we just like geeking out together and talking about nerdy stuff. So we wanted to try our hand at doing a podcast about it.
Yeah.
And that's that's really the entire purpose of our show. Is we're just a couple that likes geeking out together, and then we occasionally record it.
Yeah.
Well, you guys, I will say you guys have a great show, and I am one of your listeners every week.
Oh,
And I especially, and that's why I brought you on, wanted to talk this topic with you. I think you guys do one of the best jobs that I've heard discussing DC content. So,
Whoa.
Wow.
yeah. So,
Too well compliments.
high praise.
I'm uncomfortable.
but you do. You guys have broken down even cartoon things that I've never watched, and I listened, and I'd never watched it. I was like, oh, okay. Like I felt like I had understanding and knowledge of this stuff at that point. So, you guys do a great job with everything. But since we're talking DC tonight, I'm just bringing up DC since I know it's a love of you all's.
Oh yeah, definitely. I've loved DC since the original Tim Burton Batman movies are where I got my start with that.
Mm-hmm.
Watched those as a kid. I think the very first time I was actually allowed to dress up for Halloween, my family went all out on it. I was Batman, of course. And my mom was Catwoman and my dad was the Penguin.
Yes.
My dad like got like the prosthetic nose and like it was everything.
I need a picture of this.
It was so fun, and
I love it.
Yeah, that's where my initial love of all things DC came from, was my introduction into the Batverse, the Tim Burton Batverse, if you will.
Yeah.
And it was yeah.
Well,
I'll leave it at that.
Am I imagining, Natalie, or did we have a Halloween that I was Batman and you were Catwoman?
I think we did.
I'm pretty sure that
amazing.
happened.
And let's
That's
be honest,
awesome.
you guys know me being Catwoman is not too far off. I was pretty much made to be Catwoman.
Except she means with literal cats that are drawn to her.
That resonates with me. I feel like I could be Catwoman too.
I mean, there was some serious consideration of getting a third cat today.
Oh yeah.
There was some like real serious consideration.
Oh, we've already got some interesting things that we're about to get into in the chat between Michael of 2 Star Wars.
Got some controversy
as
going.
as Natalie always calls me 2 Star Wars. And then from a certain point of view. Hey, I've learned it. It's Michael. Oh, we got hello to Nerd Herders too.
Hello.
And Kevin
Dave.
Dingle. Hello, everyone. Well, we will go ahead and get started. We are, and also tell everyone that is not aware of your show, where can they find you?
So you can find links to all of our podcatchers at bit.ly/links PNP. You can also check us out on pizzaandparsecs.com or on the red5network.com.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. And you guys are pretty much everywhere podcasts are. So
Yes.
yeah. So yeah, definitely check them out. But since we have them, we'll go ahead and get started our topic tonight. And we are going to be talking about why we prefer DC. I know there's a lot of Marvel love and Marvel's great and everything, but the four of us.
You didn't mean to rhyme there, did you?
I didn't. It just happened. I'm just smooth like that, guys. I mean, what can I say?
It was almost like a riddle.
It was like the Joker.
No, like the Riddler,
the
Natalie.
Riddler. Oh my gosh.
Gosh,
That was a mess up.
she really blew that one, but we will pass that. So
I was
anyway,
gonna hold it against you.
so we will be talking about why we prefer DC. So join the conversation and let's talk some DC. Okay. So right off the bat in the chat, Michael from 2 Star Wars had brought up on Twitter before we got here tonight that Batman is not a superhero. So I think we should start there.
Dave, I can see the opinions are strong.
The opinions are strong with Dave. Where, let's see, what is it from a certain point of view got? Very high praise. Yeah. He's gonna. So I think from a certain point of view is going up with Dave on the fact that Batman is a superhero. So Dave, because I know that one of our reasons we prefer DC to Marvel is simply summed up in No, Batman. So since it's Batman, I feel like we should defend his integrity
Nicely done, Michelle.
as a superhero. So, Dave and Liv, tell Michael why Batman is indeed a superhero.
I'll let you get it kicked off.
Are you sure?
Yes.
I don't want to steal the show.
You won't steal the show.
Are you confident in that?
Girl, I got this.
Well, I'm just going to play devil's advocate for a second. If we're going to consider Batman not a superhero, then Iron Man's not a superhero. Period. Let's just be real, because Iron Man he has no superpowers. He basically has the same mindset. He's just a wealthy playboy. What's the word I'm looking for?
Billionaire.
That's the word. Anyway.
Lots of money.
Yeah.
So Iron Man's not one. Iron Man's little sidekick's not one.
Right.
Let's see. A Falcon. The
Hawkeye.
Black Widow.
I was going to say Black Widow. Majority of
Marvel.
The Avengers.
Yeah. A lot of the Avengers are not superheroes by that logic, at least.
And that's really not good enough logic, in my opinion. I was gonna say it's dumb logic because it is. It's just dumb logic.
Snap.
Like, anybody could be a superhero, let's be real. That's preached throughout all of DC. Is like, anybody can be a hero, anybody can save the day. Batman is just a huge advocate for that, So what? He's a vigilante. We also have to talk about which Batman universe we're considering to decipher vigilante from superhero.
Yeah.
Sure enough. And one of the big things is, it's hard to define a superhero by just somebody that has superpowers, because I think that the definition is a lot broader than that. And they even talk about this in the Marvel universe. They talk about it in Spider-Man 2, actually. They talk about how you don't need to have superpowers to be a superhero. That one of Batman's biggest superpowers is not only his superhero willpower that he has, his determination, but how he inspires an entire city. Mm-hmm. And that inspiration to do good. They talk about it in Dark Knight Returns a lot, about how he tries to turn the city around with by his example. And I think that's what makes him such a positive and strong superhero, is that you have more of an ability to relate to him. You have a human figure that you can actually look up to. I can't look at Superman, for example, and say, I could be from Krypton someday, because I can't.
Right.
I just can't. But, I can dedicate myself to doing good. I can dedicate myself to a craft. I can dedicate myself to doing better. Mm-hmm. I can do those things, and I can see that and be inspired by that through characters like Batman.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, let's also look at the death to life ratio between Batman, not superhero, superpower person, and Superman has superpowers. Superman dies more frequently than Batman does. He is supposed to be invincible. Like,
this is true.
I can't.
It is true. But I think, too, back to what Dave was saying, I think that, well, for starters, I think that's why Batman is the most beloved superhero of any of them, because he's the one we relate to. Yeah. Like, he's the one we can aspire to being. Mm-hmm. We can't, even more than Iron Man, because Iron Man is still so reliant upon this crazy suit, and he flies around with the suit. And I know Batman is a lot with the suit, but there's still so much about the Batman character that is truly about a form of morality for the city, where he fights to not give in to killing, and kind of to, even, when we did our discussion on The Dark Knight Rises, I almost choked up talking about the end scene where he says, light it, and they light the bat symbol, and it becomes this symbol of Gotham City PD being better and rising up. And it's just like, he's that symbol to people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and even like, in that movie, The Dark Knight Rises, like when he realizes that, he's getting older and he needs help. I think that it's like, he is kind of the most human of them all. And like you guys have said, I think that's why we as the audience probably do, subconsciously or whatever, relate to him the most. And I also think it's taken him, unlike a fancy suit, and I don't mean to knock Iron Man, but I think it's taken a lot of self-discipline and training to get to the point that he became Batman. He's had to work hard to acquire these skills and these kind of fighting skills and things like that. I mean, of course he has his cool gadgets, but a lot of it's his fighting.
Yeah. So, I mean, let's just even do that on the Marvel DC thing. So you got Iron Man and Batman. But Iron Man, pretty much he had to, he's a genius, so we'll give him that. He's a genius. But
which is its own
superpower. I mean, Iron Man's great. I'm not putting down Iron Man. But
I like
I'm just
Iron
kidding.
Man.
I'm just kidding.
It's almost, she's going to start Civil War. It's almost like, I'm saying in the comments, it's almost like he more has to learn how to control, almost like playing a video game. Like he has to learn to control the suit. Where Batman, went and learned martial arts. Like he truly learned how to be basically a ninja in many ways. Like it truly was another level of discipline. Like that, I think as humans, again, we appreciate, we relate to.
Definitely. And I think one of the big things for me that I see a lot of people overlook, and I don't want us to skirt over this in this conversation for sure. And that's Batman is not a character that's completely reliant on technology or fighting, even though he is so strong at those skills. Batman, first and foremost, is a detective.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's how he solves his cases.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He doesn't always have to brawl his way through these villains. He just outsmarts them a lot of the time.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, especially when you're facing off villains like the Riddler, for example, one of his smartest characters in his rogues gallery. Beats him with his brain.
Yeah.
Once again, making him, in my opinion, more believable and more realistic.
Well, and that kind of moves in. Let's address Michael. He said, because he's just a plain human, not any superhuman powers. And he is just a plain human. So Michael, I feel like this is a tie. We're both right because that's true. But back to what Liv said, if you cut Batman out of the superhero argument, then you cut out like half the Marvel characters or more. So I think it has to be more than they're just like Wonder Woman or Superman or Captain Marvel and have these actual powers. I think it's more a superhero is someone that can get crap done, that can do stuff that no one else can do. Like you can count on them to save the world. So that would be my definition. So I think we're at a standstill on that question.
And yes, Michael, I think we all agree his toys and his suit do come in handy. Absolutely.
Sure.
But he's got a lot going on under the suit.
But the early Batman did not have like a Kevlar suit. If you look at the early Batman, it's just like tights.
Yeah.
Cape.
It's basically Zorro.
Right. And you look at Robin, he doesn't have like a fancy suit. You look at Batgirl, she doesn't have a fancy suit. They're basically just wearing leotards and tights. They're basically dancers.
Yeah, they really are. Well, and another point, if we're going to bring this one, Michael's comment up, another point is Thor. What is the sole thing he's trying to get in Avengers or Infinity War? He's trying to get another hammer. So we have this demigod-like character, and yet he relies on that hammer, Michael. So I don't want to hear it.
Superman relies on the sun.
And I wouldn't say that he needs.
That's true. He's solar powered, guys. Superman needs that
Solar
stuff.
powered.
So eco-friendly.
He's green.
He's so green.
And I wouldn't say that he actually needs his suit and toys, because some of the most captivating storytelling in Batman is when he is stripped of all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
He no longer has his fancy utility belt. He no longer has his any of his gadgets or his grappling hooks or his batarangs. He doesn't have any of those things. He gets there just by being
Bruce.
Yeah, just by being Batman, you know?
Yeah.
He doesn't need those things, but when he has them, he basically is just leveraging that technology to further his purpose. He doesn't need it to do that, but he just simply leverages it when he has it available to him.
Right. It's like cheating on a test. Using your resources to your advantage.
I've done plenty of that.
Me too. Confessions all around tonight. I don't know. I feel like that's relevant.
Let's see. What do we got? Oh yeah, getting out. I mean, what an incredible scene from The Dark Knight.
That was literally something I was thinking about. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. What do we got from here? Let's see. I'll read for those listening. A certain point of view says, I think reserve the term superhero to people with only powers is criminally limiting. What Batman does with his strength, training, intelligence, and resources is superhuman in itself. I agree.
Yep.
That's basically the essence of what we're saying.
Yeah, I agree.
He's so his focus is so like lasered in on his purpose. And I think that the fact that he like that kind of superhero dedication, which, you know, you don't get that from being born on a different planet, or you don't get that from being struck by lightning, or, you know, however someone might get their metahuman powers.
Right.
You get that through your own dedication. You get that from within, and that he's able to summon that from within is superhuman in and of itself, because it is superhuman.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think that like is the essence of DC itself, you know, like and at the risk of being canceled on Twitter, you know, I cannot compare another superhero to Batman in the dedication he has to Gotham in the Marvel universe, but I can count on, you know, I would have to use your hands as well, the amount of superheroes in the DC comics that are so dedicated to their specific city. You look at the Flash, you look at Green Arrow, you look at Superman. Their dedication is strictly, I'm going to protect the people who can't protect themselves. The
one exception that I will make to that, like I'm not gonna sit here and say like Marvel doesn't do any of these things. Like some of my favorite stories are also in Marvel comics. I would say Spider-Man is another good example of that. I really enjoy Spider-Man.
Yeah, I like Spider-Man.
Yeah. Okay, this might be unpopular, but I really, when I was young, I guess I was in high school when the Tobey Maguire ones came out. I really like those.
No, people love that Spider-Man.
Okay, so I'm not alone. That's
I like them. She doesn't.
Yeah, people really liked it though overall. But I like Marvel stuff. I think this is the way I would say it as we kind of move into the actual topic we were talking about tonight. And I actually, for you Marvel fans, originally had planned Rob was going to be with us from Jedi Archive to talk Marvel, and he had a scheduling conflict. So we are going to talk Marvel at some point because we don't dislike Marvel. We just prefer DC.
Yeah.
So, and in talking about DC, and of course you guys were who I wanted to talk DC with, I think we kind of already hit on it, but now specifically I want to address one of the things that it's why, Star Wars speaks to me on a spiritual level, but I would say like there's moments in whether it's Wonder Woman, whether it's The Dark Knight or the Dark Knight Rises in that case, they ground things so much in human emotion that it can bring emotion out of me, and I'm not really a crier and things like these moments, like the scene Wonder Woman walks out on no man's land, and it's such this image of a woman going a place that no man has gone. I mean, truly
like they're
symbolic.
all scared back there, and she's just taking it. I mean, it's just powerful.
It's
like
powerful.
I think we said this on our podcast or our discussion about Wonder Woman, but I was like on the couch behind Michelle, so we couldn't see each other. And then at the end of the movie, I said, I don't know why, but like I cried during that scene. It was like the second or third time I had seen the movie. I said, I tear up every time that scene. And she said, I do too.
Yeah.
You know, and then she started tearing up, explaining why. And it was like, yeah, that's,
Mhm.
you know, but it's just such a powerful imagery.
It really is.
Yeah.
Well, and in saying that, so let's take the holy trinity of DC. You have Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. And Wonder Woman, there is no debate, is the greatest female superhero of all time. There's no debate. There's not even a close second. Like it's Wonder Woman, and then you can find the second somewhere far down. But why? Because Wonder Woman is literally a symbol of female empowerment.
Mhm.
And then on the opposite side of that, you have Superman, who becomes this symbol that men wear working out on their chests of like to be better, like to be more, to be not average. So he's a symbol for men. And then you have Batman, which both men and women deeply relate to, of just this innately human person that's trying to rise above and be better. So it's like all three of those characters, which for starters, I'm sorry, Marvel just doesn't have anyone to compete with any of those three, in my opinion. But all three of those characters, they're deeply symbolic and they mean something to us as humans in a way, I don't know, outside of maybe Captain America, just for America in general, that Marvel doesn't really have that speaks to us on such a human level. So do you guys want to say anything to that?
Well, let me say quickly, something I'd read kind of just doing some quick research, I found very interesting and kind of rang true to me. It said a lot of DC characters and their stories, it's a little more relevant and speaks to society more.
Yeah.
And I find that to be very true. And then something I wanted to quickly read that I didn't even know about Wonder Woman. You guys probably know this, but I thought this was cool. It said a large reason why Wonder Woman was created and published in 1941 was because of World War II. She was made to support the Allies and inspire people during the war. Comics during this time showed victories against the foes fought by Wonder Woman herself. She was also made to inspire the women that stayed home during the war.
Yep.
She pushed that society should be supporting those in the war and expressing nationalism as a way to promote victory in the war. This is one of the reasons DC Comics are so special, because they create a mirror to what was happening in society during their time by having the heroes beat the odds and come out victorious.
Yeah. I mean, I'll let you guys talk now, but I mean, that to me is why, you know, getting back to this title, that pretty much I summed up why I prefer DC. It speaks to me on a human level in a way Marvel has yet to.
Right.
Definitely. And one thing that I do want to bring up is I like what you said about how it remains culturally relevant to its time. You talk about Superman. The entire impetus of Superman was to give people during the Great Depression that hope and to power them through this period where all hope seemed lost. And I love, I'm not the biggest Superman fan, but I love the origin of his creation and how that helped to inspire. And again, using that word inspire, because that's what these characters do, regardless of whether or not they can shoot laser beams out of their eyes. They can inspire people off the page to persevere. And that was the big thing with Superman. You look at the civil rights movement. Doom Patrol was big during that time, and a few months later, X-Men came out. Both of those highly influential during that period. And I know X-Men is Marvel, but you know, I gotta give credit where credit's due. And X-Men is obviously widely more popular and more well known than Doom Patrol for the most part. but they tackled, for now, tackling those issues during the civil rights movement, the racial inequalities during that time and discrimination that was going on. Then we talked about this in our Dark Knight Returns episode, during the Cold War, and how, and not even the Cold War, but also the state of the nation with how crime-ridden places like New York were during the 80s, and the overall fear that these people had. And once again, here comes Batman coming in a very dark graphic novel, and coming in and giving these people hope through these incredible stories. So that was one of the big things that I wanted to call out there, was that it remains, DC is really great at coming up with things at the time that are very relevant and give you messages that people need to hear. And they do that in their cinematic universe as well. Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Huge female empowerment. I'm a dude. I cried 3 times during Wonder Woman. That was a beautiful movie. I loved it. So good.
Well, and why you might have even teared up on one, I don't know. Wonder Woman, and what rewatching, because we've talked about those over the summer, Wonder Woman and the Dark Knight trilogy, they deeply deal with humanity.
Yeah.
Like where Wonder Woman's about to kill the villain and she realizes, no, like they can be both the problem and the solution. Like, no, like I can't do that. And it's kind of that same thing where the Joker gives them the option to blow up the boat. Like DC does such a good job of doing this call, as we're talking about, to humanity, like to be better.
And even though it's entertainment, I think touches something inside of us as humans. Like, I want to be better, and truly can inspire. And I love what you said about, like, I hadn't even thought about that, the history of Superman and being during the Great Depression and giving hope, because I've said several times, when you feel hope, if you don't have hope, you don't have much of anything.
No.
And just to be able to offer hope to people through entertainment and through these, symbols of hope, Batman, this, I don't know what the word is, but I guess a symbol, an inspiration. It's like, what a beautiful thing to be able to give society.
Yeah. And I know they say that, they're probably saying something else, but even in the new Snyder Superman,
I'd forgotten that.
And she said, and it's Lois Lane, and she says, ask him about the S on his chest, and he says, where I come from, it stands for hope. And she's like, well, it's an S here, but
hope is spelled with an H, genius.
but he is, and that even makes sense with the characters of when they were created, because sometimes Superman's knock is he's so clean, so good boy that he's harder to relate to.
Blue Boy Scout.
But that image makes sense for that time period. And Batman in the gritty 70s of New York makes more sense for that time period, because they would connect with Superman as much as they would this gritty, complex character.
Right.
Definitely. And that's another thing that DC is also really great at sort of pioneering. Like, you talk about like the golden age, the silver age, and the modern age of comics. And to me, one of the biggest, because talking about the Boy Scout aspect of these superheroes, like they're these do-gooders, and yes, that ain't no Shiv.
That's a good one.
love Dark Knight Returns.
And hello to Radio Rebellion.
Hello, Alberto.
But for me, I feel like the modern age of comics during the 1980s is probably one of the most, or late 70s through the 80s is probably the most influential age of comics that we get, because that's where it gets more real. That's where you start to get more gritty, and it's not all rainbows and sunshine. In fact, in a lot of the comics that you read during that time, they start to kind of make fun of that and it becomes like this whole trope thing. In Dark Knight Returns, actually, there's this really funny panel of Superman with, standing in his stance, one knee up on a rock, and a bald eagle like flying overhead. Like it's such a it's I'm trying to figure out the best way to put it. DC did such a great job bringing these characters that were not that flawed before, and they brought a realism to them and really brought it down to earth in a much more relatable way emotionally that we could all resonate with.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, I think DC, that's why I love it, because and I'm not trying to bash, because like I said, we're going to discuss Marvel and I enjoy Marvel, but it's definitely much more just like sit down, eat some popcorn and laugh while I watch a movie.
There's an enemy of the world and we're going to defeat them.
Yeah.
And not to put that down. I mean, that has its place.
Yeah.
But
sometimes you really just need that full on escapism, get a good laugh, eat some popcorn and see some effects.
Right.
But I prefer when they can mix. I mean, and I know DC, for starters, I am like, I will be a DC shill, by the way, because I feel like they get a lot of crap for no reason sometimes as of late, because I know they kind of were figuring out what to do. We're still trying to follow the gritty path after the Dark Knight trilogy. But I feel like from Wonder Woman on, they've just been like knocking it out of the ballpark, like left and right with their movies, in my opinion. And they've all been different. Wonder Woman was that first time they finally struck a balance between grit and humor. Like they truly found it and meshed it
and romance
and romance
all at the same time.
Yeah, and still speaking to you. And then I personally thought Shazam was wonderful. How it had so much heart and humor, but then also like when the boy goes and his mother just rejects him, like breaks your heart. And like it had so much heart and that DC grit still. I mean, the scene in Shazam, the boardroom scene, I was kind of like, dang, like they just went dark. I feel like and that's great, because Marvel and DC, I don't want them to be similar. I don't want them to be the same. That wouldn't be fun. Like I want them to be different and to be different experiences.
I think DC takes a little more risks.
Oh,
I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Marvel.
Great minds, Lou.
I mean, Marvel at this point has become like, it's almost like a machine, the Marvel machine. Like, what's coming out, what the formula is. Where let's just say the last two DC movies have been Joker and then Birds of Prey. I mean, two movies that couldn't be any more different and take any more risk as far as a comic book movie. So I enjoyed both of those immensely.
Yeah, me too.
I thought Joker was one of the best movies of the last 20 years.
I always say it transcends a movie. It's art.
It's art. And then Birds of Prey is art in its own comic book way. So, I mean, they both. And
like a pop type way.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to say it.
It's like it was a very, and I know it's not for everyone, but I appreciate they took a risk. And it wasn't just a formulaic
a cookie
movie.
cutter. Yeah.
But Liv, I feel like I've cut you off.
No, you're good. You're good. I was just going to agree that I feel like DC does take more of a risk in the depth of their characters, and really they take a character and like, all right, this is how deep that character goes. Let's find the bottom of the well and then bring it up. Whereas like for me with Marvel, it's like, all right, here's Captain America. We all know and love him. Here's another story about Captain America. We all know and love him. But we have like Birds of Prey, where we get a deeper sense of Harley Quinn. We get a deeper sense of the characters built around what, Birds of Prey and that group of women look like, and how that kind of in that genre and in that universe started. We have, another deep, I hate to be that person. I haven't seen Joker yet. I feel bad. I haven't seen it.
You gotta go watch it.
You thought it looked too dark.
It looked really scary. And I really don't do scary very well. We've been doing like a spooky season this month, and I don't do scary movies very well, like at all. Here I am, like Graham cupping over here, like dancers over here.
It is not scary, so watch it.
Okay, so I'll put that on my list. I can handle that. But I was gonna commend Patty Jenkins, the director of Wonder Woman, because she took such a risk with Wonder Woman, because it was one of the first DC movies that blatantly spoke the gospel. And she even came out and said, like, this is what I'm doing because Wonder Woman's the best superhero to go about and do it. And they took that risk and it landed flawlessly. Like, it was the most beautifully done, accurately spoken, like, portrayal of an abstract way of of the gospel that got people, talking. I walked out of that movie and was like, there's absolutely no way. There's no way people leave that movie not seeing Christ. There's no way. But it's that risk that DC is so willing to take, and they're so willing to jump out and fail. Like, I know people have problems with Justice League. I know people have problems with Batman versus Superman, but that's because they took risks that kind of flopped. I still love those two movies.
I actually like Batman v Superman. Like,
so good.
And that brings me back to Bob asked us, he asked us, where is it, if we were excited about the Snyder Cut. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm definitely excited about the Snyder Cut. Oh, that's not the right Bob comment. There we go.
Very much so.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you talk about this guy here in New Gods, Jack Kirby. Jack Kirby created this entire universe of these, like, larger than life villains, which is where we get characters like Darkseid, which is where we get characters like Steppenwolf. Like, that universe comes out of that Jack Kirby gave us, who left Marvel to come to DC to do that. Just throwing that in there.
He knew where the better group was.
And I'm just really excited to actually see, like, this on-screen adaptation of what Darkseid and the ruthlessness that he's going to bring to the screen.
Right.
Because, not for nothing, but this is kind of, it leads into one of my points about the villains of DC and how strong their rogues gallery is. Mm-hmm. It's so, like, the well is so deep there. You get a character like Darkseid, who could easily be the villain for 3 or 4, even 5 movies, I think, as strong as we've seen him in other pieces of literature, animated films.
Right.
In Marvel, I've only seen that with, like, Thanos.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I feel
like Thanos.
I feel like DC, you could take almost any of their villains and actually they could withstand, like, multiple movies,
right?
At least.
I think
and people love.
I was going to say, like, so because I'm just a Marvel person, I just go and watch the movies. I don't know anything about the comics, so what I see on screen is what I know.
Yeah.
And, like, people are just talking about Thanos, yada yada yada, and I go to the movie and I'm like, it's a big blue guy. Like I don't know who wants to wipe out half the world. So I guess he's he's really big on the environment to the detriment of humans. But compare that to, okay, I would say in movie history that Darth Vader is arguably the most beloved villain of all time. I would say he is one, but 2, and closely behind him, has to be Joker.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, my gosh, they did a total drama new take on Joker, rated R, and broke the $1 billion mark. I mean,
and part of what I love about DC, not that they do it every time and in every set of movies, but, like, Liv, when you watch the Joker, and I think you're going to really love it, But, it really shows you and explains, like, you get to know so much more, like, why he is the way he is and his childhood and his background. And, they're willing to go there, with some of these people. And even I was thinking earlier, like Batman, for example, I think it's also an inspiration. If you think about it, he used, what the devil meant for evil, so to say, the pain in his life, and he turned it around and wanted to go out and help people. He could have lived in misery the rest of his life, but he said no. And like you saying about Wonder Woman, and it was like, it might sound dumb now that you say that, but I'm like, that's what it is, Liv. That's what gets me about that movie.
Yeah.
Like Epiphany, she didn't have to come to this gross world where she didn't understand. There's a better way. Why are you hurting that horse? Where, she doesn't understand everything's going on, but she ultimately decides the people are worth it. And I'm going to stay here for them. And so thank you for clarifying that. It was like, now I get why.
Nelly, like,
oh man, I'm obsessed with that movie. Yeah. Oh yeah. And I cry throughout that entire movie frequently. But real quick on the villains, one of the reasons why I think we love DC villains so much, and it's a part of us that probably wants to deny it, is how easily it is for us as humans to relate to the DC villains, because they are also as equally relatable as the DC superheroes.
Absolutely.
We could see ourselves in any of those situations, being in any of those positions, like taking Joker, for example. In my opinion, Joker is the complete and total opposite of Batman. We have Batman who is good. We have Joker who is evil.
Yes. That's
an easy split. That's a very fine line that either one could balance on. We could do the same with Riddler. We could do the same with, any of the Batman villains. We could do it with any of the Superman villains. Like, they're all so relatable. It's kind of scary.
And speaking of the heroes and the villains, to get a little deep here, we all have pain. I think I can say that. Some of us more than others. But what direction do you want to take that pain in?
Right.
Do you want to use it for good, or do you want to use it for evil?
Because it's kind of even down to like Heath Ledger's conversation when he says when the chips are down, they'll eat each other. It's kind of like when his chips were down, it pushed him to become the Joker. When Bruce Wayne's chips were down, it pushed him to become Batman. And it truly is a dichotomy of the two paths in life you can take. And they truly are. It's genius. And there's so many beyond Joker. Joker's just the most famous. Literally with Joaquin Phoenix, and I just appreciate all the different takes. You have Heath Ledger's performance, which was genius. You had Jack Nicklaus, which was genius. And now you have Joaquin Phoenix, and they're all so different and also uniquely theirs and uniquely genius. It's just, it's an ingenious character. And then I know the trailer for the Batman that has now been pushed off, sadly, to 2022.
Like everything.
2022?
Oh, everything's got pushed back. So yeah, it's coming out March 2022.
Oh my God.
But what I wanted.
I'm so angry.
I know. Like, I'm very
so
upset.
angry.
But when I heard that was happening, I was like, can they please make the villain the Riddler and make him like a true serial killer? Like, that would be awesome. And then we get that trailer and I was like, oh, like they're giving it to me. Like, and it's just, that's relatable. Like, Thanos to me isn't a relatable villain.
Yeah.
Like
right.
A serial killer is. Like, we see that in our society. It's a real evil, and you want it. In us, we demand justice. We want true justice, like to claim that and to deal with it.
And not saying it's right or wrong, but as I pointed out in one of our Batman things, we kind of have a fascination with serial killers.
Yeah.
So
I binge watch Criminal Minds frequently. So
I'm on Cold Case Files right now. I feel you.
Well, and then I think, especially, we're kind of sticking in Batman's category. But let's just be real. He has the best of the best villains. But in that, they make such this unique connection that I feel like people don't, of where they get sent to the Arkham Asylum. Like, a lot of people like that, I'm not, and sadly, mental illness is a big umbrella that a lot of people get put under. But there is a segment that, of not the rest of mental illnesses that we have, but people like, whether it's what's his name, Ted Bundy, like they're mentally deranged, like they're mentally crazy, like they're gone, like that person's gone. And I think that they make that kind of connection with Batman's villains is kind of interesting. Like this mental, they just go deeper. I mean, I think that's what this whole thing is about.
They take that risk.
They take that risk. They go deeper into the human psyche, into the human experience. And that's what I love.
And that being said, Michelle knows when the first time we saw Joker, I literally texted her and said, I want to give him a hug so bad right now.
and then about 2 minutes later, she said, well, maybe not.
I was like, maybe
not. But, and I will say, just since we brought it up, we said this for you guys. We actually, one of our first episodes was us discussing Joker. And we say this, and I will say it again. That is like a 70s movie, slow build, and the last 15 minutes of that movie is like an out-of-body experience.
Yeah, really. It really is. I mean, we're hyping it up for you, but you gotta see it now.
You've got to give it.
I gotta go watch it now.
And then it's like explosive for the last 15 minutes.
Yeah,
like it's really, and it is art.
And once again, talking about DC's effect on society, I think that movie. Oh man, it's deep. Like it just makes you like mental illness and how society deals with that. And even right now, like where we are, even though it's set maybe in the late 70s, I think, or the early 80s,
which New York is beginning to look more and more like.
Right. But once again, they managed to make something so relevant to today, even like we're still so far behind, I think, when it comes to mental illness and understanding what it is and not, being judgmental or about going to therapy or whatever, so very relevant.
Yeah, they are. Any other villains you got? Because I think that you guys segued into one of my things. Their villains are just so superior. I mean, their superheroes are superior and their villains are superior.
People are hating us right now.
No, yeah. I can only think of one universe within Marvel that does it pretty well. And again, that's Spider-Man. Spider-Man has a great rogues gallery. But I mean, Batman alone has like this dais of dozens of different villains that you could, pick one from a hat and it's going to be a worthy adversary that day for whatever reasons. And the thing about one of the things that makes the villains so strong is what's going on for Batman interpersonally at that time. Agreed. Michael, 2 Men 2 said, Liv is the smartest wife on PNP.
I'm the only wife on PNP.
It was a good compliment.
Yeah.
I'll take it. Thanks. Appreciate it.
But Batman might be dealing with something that makes facing off against someone like Black Mask a lot more terrifying for him, or facing off against
Poison Ivy.
Yeah, it just, there's so many it seems like there's so many factors that can go into finding like that perfect face off in a given Batman run or arc. I love the rogues gallery within Batman. One of the big things, and this is heavily outlined in Grant Morrison in 1989, had a great exploration of this called Arkham Asylum. And in this graphic novel, it's incredibly dark, and it's frankly, it's pretty difficult to read. But in there, you see that these villains that Batman goes in and talks to and interacts with there, people like Two-Face, people like Joker, that he's not far off from them from a psychological standpoint. And one of the big things in a previous comic book that they talk a lot about in The Killing Joke, all it takes is one bad day, and Batman could have been the next Joker, could have been the next Two-Face.
Yeah.
The fact that they are that close together is not only does that make them more relatable to us, getting these sympathetic villains, or villains that we can kind of, for lack of a better term, relate to a little bit more. And yeah, they just, you can relate a lot better to both the villains and the heroes for me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, and something kind of, as we kind of begin to wrap up, I want to kind of let you guys live. You probably can name more than me, but something else like with Unique is their female characters for DC, because of course you've got Wonder Woman, you've got Batgirl, but I mean there are few characters as cool as Catwoman, who like walks the fence of being good or bad, very catty. I always prefer when she goes good. Like you just want her to go good all the time. You're like, just go with him.
But
like,
let's face it, that's realistic portrayal of people in life too. You've got people that kind of straddle the fence, and like maybe they are a good person at heart, but they're a little shisty.
Yeah, and then you've got Poison Ivy, who's a very unique character in her own way. You've got Harley Quinn, who's crazy. You've got, I mean, you just have so many, but all those characters I just named are fascinating. But they're truly fascinating characters.
Who doesn't love Harley? And I just thought about Poison Ivy in a new light. Like I was obsessed with her as a kid growing up watching that cheesy string of Batman movies.
With Uma Thurman. That was bad.
Yeah. I don't know why she as
really my favorite ones. Those are my favorite Batmans.
I watched
Michael Keaton's the best, but those are so good.
But she fascinated me.
Right.
But now looking back as an adult, it's like she's the perfect, like almost like a Jezebel spirit. It's like
she's very sexual.
I'm going to seduce you and manipulating you into doing my bidding and doing what I want you to do for me, and stuff like that. So it's like she's a great character, the basic who she is and how she operates.
And then Harley's that girl that grew up on like in the trailers that probably just offensive. I don't know.
Yeah.
She came from a really rough experience in life. And
there's nothing wrong with trailers.
There's not. No, there's not. I almost said the other side of the tracks, but then that's offensive. So I didn't know how to word that. I just meant came from a really rough.
Hey, our dad was from the other side of the tracks.
That's So I mean, it just came from a very rough experience. Like she's relatable in that way, and yet like you love her. Like I mean, you love her crazy.
Like honestly, who doesn't love Harley?
And I think we can all think of. I know I can think of a girl that kind of had a heart. Girls in high school had kind of Harley Quinn vibes in a way that came from rough backgrounds and were humorous, but also a little crazy and a little dangerous.
And at times they would surprise you and have your back.
Yeah. I mean, they were wild cards.
Yeah. Never know what you're going to get.
And I mean, I love that DC is now introducing even more female, like, main characters. We're getting more of Huntress and Black Canary, and we're getting more Harley Quinn. We're getting more of Batgirl. We're getting more Batwoman. There's a lot of development going on with those characters and references to those characters that are going to start rising up, I feel like, in the near future. Because we did get, with Birds of Prey, we did get another look at Black Canary, who is a big character in the Arrow series on CW. Like, we already have a backstory. Now they're developing it even further. Again, and same with Batgirl. I think there's a lot of new content coming out within that. And then a lot of the animated series has focused on Raven from Teen Titans. And there's another one, it's on the top of my tongue, deals with another female. Cannot remember.
Huntress?
No. We just watched one. It was like, Barbara Gordon.
Oh, Batgirl.
Who is Batgirl, but like focusing on Barbara herself opposed to her as Batgirl. So we're getting a lot of these things and a lot of bigger female names out there that's going to develop, I think, in the future. That's just going to be super fun. And we have Jane from Doom Patrol. Who doesn't love Jane from Doom Patrol?
Y'all watch Doom Patrol. It's awesome.
I haven't yet, but I listened to your full episode, and it's almost. I'm like Paul. It almost convinced me to watch it.
It's so good. Not that family friendly,
No,
but
I've heard.
it's really good.
Not family friendly at all.
But one thing that you said, I loved that you talked about this concept of reinventing characters.
Yeah.
And that's something that I feel like DC does so strongly. We have, looking at a character like Robin, for example. I don't know why that's on the top of my mind, but you have a character like Robin. How many Robins do we have?
A lot.
There are a lot of Robins. It's a character that, other characters come in and continuously take out the mantle. Looking at on the Marvel side, I can only think of maybe one or two characters that have sort of been reinvented in that way, and that's again Spider-Man. You don't get that a lot. DC has continuously reinvented these characters, especially after introducing concepts like the multiverse, which I know Marvel also has concept of a multiverse.
They don't use it though.
It's going to become a lot widely known after the next Doctor Strange movie.
After DC already sets himself up for success.
But DC does a really good job reinventing these characters in a way that makes them continue to remain relevant while staying true to the heart of the character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, totally.
And you also talked about Teen Titans, and again, talking about characters like Robin and everybody else in the Teen Titans. One thing that I love about DC, even especially from a young age, when you're a kid and you're looking up to someone like Batman, you say, I want to be like that when I grow up. I want to grow into someone like that. But DC has these properties and these shows that you, as a kid, you can look up and say, I want to be that now.
Right. It's
I want to do that now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I want to be better in this moment. I don't have to wait until I'm 35 and have mommy and daddy issues to, save Gotham.
Right. Yeah. And it's so widespread. Like if you look at Teen Titans, you have kind of a rough backstory that's so different in each area. You have the jock who became crippled essentially and had to rely on Machine to move him forward. You have Raven, who does have daddy issues, let's be real, but she's this like darker, more, into herself, recluse superhero. You have, Robin, who is this powerful teenage leader. So all of these different, and again, DC does it better. Stamp.
Basically. Well, and as we close, I was thinking, because I, again, didn't want to put anyone down with my Harley thing, but do you know who in a TV show has Harley vibes in a show? And that would be Ruth in, I can't think of it, on Netflix.
Oh, gosh. Ruth.
Ozark.
Ozark. Like
yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That person has a Harley vibe, like coming from a very rough background that kind of forms that type of person. Like that was what
Michelle,
I was trying to say.
Where does Ruth come from?
Well, she actually literally comes from the trailer, but whatever. I couldn't help myself. Walked into that one. But my point is like she's smart. You don't know what she's gonna do. Like she's got that vibe.
Yes, but she's extremely intelligent.
Yeah.
Yes, and very loyal. Yeah, so I wouldn't say Harley is loyal, but she does
have to the Joker in ways.
She's loyal when it suits her a lot of the times.
Yeah.
And I think one of Harley's biggest superpowers, and Ruth, talking about Ruth as if she were a superhero, right, is how people can easily underestimate them.
Yes.
A lot of people forget that Harley is
genius.
A certifiable genius. She has a PhD, and like
I want to be Harley Quinn when I grow up.
I do too.
Oh God, I hope not. Hopefully not completely.
I'm not going to follow weird stuff. Though.
Okay, good.
I'm just pre Harley Quinn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I want to go to school for.
Okay. You want to grow up to be Harleen Quinzel.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
There we go.
There we go.
We still have the humor of Harley Quinn.
Yeah, the sass.
Yeah,
You want the sass. Love Birds of Prey.
That's my favorite part.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that part. That part made me crack
Oh,
up.
I cracked up. The stabbing the knife.
She's like,
It's already dead.
so good.
That we also, for those listening or watching, we also have a Birds of Prey discussion. That was one of our other first ones. So
Check it out.
check that one out. But
It's really good.
I actually think that was the first one I listened of you guys.
is it?
Was your Birds of Prey episode?
Well, you're
Yeah.
like, man, these girls understand me. They like this.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, I know it kind of had mixed reviews, but when we did that, I think I'd only seen it.
No, we saw it twice.
I think I'd seen it twice, but then I went to see it again in theaters. I was being like pulling a Michelle, and it was like I started to put things together even more, and it was like I like this even more than I thought I did. It was like I really like this movie. Sometimes it's one of those you kind of have to watch a couple times, I think, to
It's-
really.
Has to marinate.
Yes, yeah, but I thought it was like really well done.
I mean, it's fun.
It's really fun.
And it's kind of like, it's I don't know, there's art to it. It's almost like
Yeah.
Spice Girls meets the comics meets,
Yeah.
it's like multiple things there.
I
But I
mean,
appreciate it.
Dave got me the disc set one day just for fun. I think I watched it back to back on the same day. We watched it and then I brought it home when I was living with my parents, and I watched it with my brother immediately after. It's like, this is my favorite DC movie thus far. Second to Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman's still my favorite DC movie. Current one. That list is forever long. Anyway, it's such a good one.
It's
It
a good
is.
movie. But so as we give our closing thoughts, basically, any last closing thoughts? I mean, I think we've summed up why we prefer DC to Marvel. Not that we don't like Marvel. We just prefer DC.
Closing thoughts, they just give a lot more, in my opinion, richness and
Humanness.
backbone or backstory to their characters. would
Yeah,
be my big
like
thing.
deep emotional human connection with each
that you can
character.
emotionally attach to.
Cam Ray's closing thought is that Robin is awful. We don't have time to get into that, Cam Ray.
Cam Ray, I'm president.
Yeah,
Robin's not awful.
gotta get
It's a
that.
law.
Yeah, the president has spoken, Cam.
Elections have consequences.
They do, yeah. So Robin is good, but yeah. Thank you too. Was there anything last thing you wanted to say as we close, or?
No, I think we've pretty much covered a lot. I mean, obviously, this is a subject that we're truly passionate about.
Oh, yeah.
We could talk about for a long time, but I think we've kind of covered some of the highlights, and really just want to say thank you
Yeah.
for having us on. We love you guys. Obviously, that's why we had you on our show
Yeah.
to chat about the Matrix. Just wanted to say thank you so much, and we're absolutely beaming with gratitude when you were like, "Hey, want to come geek out about DC?"
Yeah, it was a
Just like,
quick yes.
Yeah,
Well,
Yeah.
duh.
You are so welcome, and it was truly a pleasure having you on. You guys
Yeah,
are awesome.
yeah. You guys are welcome anytime
Yes.
to hop
Yeah,
on.
gotcha.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
whenever we do get to see Wonder Woman, we'll all have to talk about it.
Definitely. And Cam,
Yes.
we're just happy you're here.
Yeah, we accept that you're late, but we appreciate you being here. That's
all that
what
counts.
matters. It's the
That's
thought
right.
that counts, Cam.
It is.
Well, before we close, I want to give everyone the details of how you win the Black Series Baby Yoda. And it is very simple. All you have to do after this video is off and processes, you just have to go back and give the video a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed, give the video a thumbs up, and leave a comment and let us know what you think about DC. And then you have entered yourself into the Baby Yoda drawing. So we will announce the winner next week on our Sunday video. So
Yes.
we will let you guys know, but that is it. So just make sure you're subscribed, thumbs up the video, and leave a comment, about anything really, whatever. So
And one lucky winner will be chosen.
yes, you will receive the asset. So that is how,
The asset. My favorite name for Baby Yoda is the asset.
we're going to do that. So make sure to enter in because the child needs a home. So
Yes, he does.
he does. Him and his frog need a home. So make sure to do that. But thank you so much to Dave and Liv at Pizza and Parsecs for being with us. Again, to any listener or watcher that has not checked out Pizza and Parsecs, tell them again where they can find you on social media and where they can listen to your podcast.
So we would definitely encourage all of you to check out our socials at Pizza and Parsecs, the Facebooks, the Twitters, the Instagrams, and give us all of the hollers that you have because we always holler back.
Holla.
And if you want to check out our show, we're on pizzaandparsecs.com or red5network.com.
Yes, and they are great. So you guys definitely go and check out Pizza and Parsecs. They're all place podcasts are. And they have so many awesome episodes. They're a great show, great podcast to add to your podcast list, and truly awesome people too.
And if you like pineapple on your pizza, you're in good company with Dave and Liv.
Yep. And they have some of the best people to talk about DC. So if you like DC because you're watching this, make sure to check out Dave and Liv because they've at Pizza and Parsecs because they've got some great DC conversations on their podcast.
Yes.
So thank you two again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it.
Stop! Don't stop.
Stop.
I'm like blushing over here.
But that is it for this episode of Force of Light Entertainment. We appreciate you all for joining the conversation. I encourage you to check out some of our other episodes and subscribe to the channel. Give the video a thumbs up and leave a comment. We'll allow you to do that until Saturday morning at 10 a.m. cutoff of being put in the lottery for Baby Yoda. So
be there, be square.
So make sure to do that. But you can catch us every Sunday with a new episode. We also have shorter episodes. We're trying to do more on YouTube. And if you want to reach out to us, you can find us on Instagram and Twitter at Force of Light Entertainment. I am Michelle34 Smith on each, Natalie.
And I'm Natalie R. Grace on Twitter and Nat Loves Bella 07 on Instagram.
We appreciate you all and appreciate everyone listening and everyone who joined us in the chat. You guys have made this so much more fun with your humorous comments and good points throughout. So we appreciate everyone in the chat. And
you guys are awesome.
Yes, and everyone watching, listening, we appreciate you all. So again, join the conversation. And next time, let's talk some more entertainment. All right, bye guys.
Bye.